Hey now, look at this. Oh my God, look at this. Look at these protesters. They're really saving those children in the Middle East. Okay, look
They
at that.
are. They're saving so many lives, so many Gazan lives.
Actually, this meme, it should be like the protesters they're defending, and there should be like a stack of money, like their parents' wealth.
Oh, that's
Actually, no,
great.
they should be burning the stack of money from their parents' wealth as they waste all their parents' money, not graduating college.
I mean, this is a pretty good meme as it is. So what we're looking at
That's
here,
true.
we've got the classic, protecting somebody as somebody gets hit with darts and bombs and knives from a different angle.
Hmm.
And you've got protesters protecting the Middle East as the Middle East is getting firebombed from a different direction. So obviously they're doing absolutely nothing, no good in the world, Sitch. You think that's how they feel? They feel like they're saving the world.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This is so much of it is just people trying to fill the empty, meaningless void of their lives with just something, anything. And it's, making little pop-up tents on college campus and screaming about something that they have no influence or effect on whatsoever.
Kind of sad if you think about it.
It's kind of sad and funny at the same time.
Oh yeah. You do
Eudaimonia
you do
actually.
empathize with a comedian, don't you?
I don't, first of all, I don't empathize with the comedian because he's a horrible person.
It
But,
sucks it sucks that he's a rapist. I mean that part is uncomfortable.
yeah, you're like I really like the point, like kind of like the theme, the vibe of this character's worldview, but he is also a horrible person and a rapist. So it's kind of hard to use him as like as your symbol.
It is. But
You know,
whatever.
no one's perfect, right? No one's
Okay.
perfect.
Well,
Listen, he got like stabbed in the eye, okay, by like a Vietnamese woman. All right, so isn't that enough, right?
let's move on. Let's get to the stories
Oh,
here. I think
okay.
it's time.
Okay.
I think it's time to get into today's stories. What's going on in the world, Sitch?
What is going on today? Okay, so we have a bunch of stories to talk about today. Today, also, first thing we're going to talk about TikTok ban, baby. It passed. Oh my God.
Now, is this
TikTok.
is the Senate? So the Senate was the second one to go, right? And so this is it. This is officially, and it's going to Biden's desk, and he says he's going to sign it.
Yeah, I think Biden actually did sign it.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yes.
Look, I saw this drop last night, and I was like, wow. Okay.
Yep, this morning, Biden signs TikTok ban. It's over. It's over. So
Right.
this is very interesting. The TikTok ban came up a few weeks ago, and it passed the House, and then it kind of stalled in the Senate because a lot of people, primarily on the right, were making a lot of noise about it, were concerned about various aspects of it, thinking or saying that it would give the president too much power to designate, various companies as threats and things of that nature. And the thing that's kind of interesting about this is that the bill didn't change any of that at all. It's all the same. It's like it's basically exactly the same bill. I looked at like the new one and the old one. I couldn't even see if anything. I couldn't find any difference in the bill. And this passed without a hitch
Wow.
whatsoever. Now this
Bipartisan
was
support? Is that what happened?
yes. Well, what they did was they tied it into. They had a big appropriations bill that tied in a bunch of appropriations plus funding to go to Israel, funding to go to Ukraine, and the TikTok ban. Now, people are calling it the TikTok ban. What it does is it basically says that TikTok has, I believe, like 260-ish days, possibly a year, to sell and divest from being a company that is under the control of China or under the jurisdiction of China. And if they do that, then nothing happens. TikTok continues. If they don't do that, well, then TikTok is going to go bye bye.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I'm hoping TikTok is going to go bye-bye, okay?
Like just completely gone. Like you don't even want it to get sold.
Yeah, maybe look, there's challenges with that too. I guess if an American company comes in that is going to, do like Elon Musk has done with Twitter and kind of figure out what's going on with the code in that. If an
Hmm.
American company is just going to take it over and like leave everything intact, and the Chinese have a bunch of spyware still planted in the TikTok app, I mean,
Yeah,
that's not, yeah.
that's a big problem. Is that there would be, as you're saying, there'd be spyware in the app, and also there'd be so much algorithmic, the
Manipulation,
control
yeah.
and manipulation that's almost impossible to disentangle. We've talked about this, but like Elon Musk, after he bought Twitter, even for years afterwards, it's like they're going through it, still pulling out things in the coding that people didn't know existed or deep in there. And so even if this does get sold over to an American company or American, some, business person who has good American wholesome interest in heart, it would still probably take years to pull all this crap out of the algorithm, and you may never find it because it's just so deep in the code.
Yeah, Elon did a ground up, started doing kind of a ground up look at the software code. I don't know that some other company wants to do that. That sounds like it costs money. That sounds like
Yeah.
it takes time and resources.
Well, that's the problem. Even the best case scenario, there could still be so much stuff embedded in it. And in the worst case scenario, as you're saying, if it's just someone who just wants to make money that buys TikTok, are they really going to care about going through all the stuff?
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's better than nothing because at least then it's like, okay, even if there's still bad things in the code, at least Chinese government won't be able to put new bad things into the code, right? So
Right.
it's better
But the
than
way
nothing.
you understand the way the code is set up, that it could continue, even though another company controls it, it could continue to report to the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, there could be like backdoor access and things,
Yeah,
obviously. Sure, sure,
exactly.
sure, sure. But it would be
I've
more
seen war
difficult.
games. I know how this works.
It would be more difficult, obviously. Um, it well, the question is, there's, China or the TikTok right now, they're saying they're going to fight it. They're going to sue the government, saying this is a violation of the First Amendment or some nonsense, which seems preposterous. But they're going to sue. I highly doubt they're going to win the case. But there's the question of if this, China and TikTok are saying they're not going to sell, and there is the problem from their end, which is that if they do sell and someone has access to it, even if there could be things embedded in the code, there could be stuff in the code that they really, really, really don't want an American or non-Chinese company to find. And
Right.
so it is very possible that that when they lose this lawsuit, that they just won't sell at all just to protect the information, and TikTok will literally just disappear in a year, which would be kind of crazy. But I think it's highly possible that could happen.
Fascinating. So we'll have to keep a good eye on this story. Is there any other?
Well, so one of the things that's really interesting to me about this TikTok getting banned is not TikTok getting banned, but the mechanism. Because, a few weeks ago, this bill comes up for a vote, and it's just the bill itself. And there's so much energy and focus on like, should we ban TikTok? Should we not ban TikTok? There's all this energy about it. And then it gets shelved. The energy kind of dissipates. And then it comes up again in this vote that, gets kind of shoved in with a bunch of other things. And it's not like people didn't know. Everyone knew that the TikTok ban was part of this appropriations bill. And you didn't really see that many people online, that many of these political pundits, these forces that were really pushing to not get TikTok passed, the ban passed. You didn't really see them come out and try to galvanize support against the bill the way you did the first time.
Right. Yeah. They throw it in with other bills so that they have cover. They're like, what? You didn't, if we didn't pass it, we wouldn't pass a budget. Like we
Right,
had
but
to
that
pass a budget.
Yeah. And so they do that for like the House reps and the senators to sort of give them some level of
Political
cover.
cover. Yeah. Yeah.
But the pundit class and the commentator class, they don't care about any of that stuff. And yet they still didn't seem that interested in like really trying to galvanize support to stop the ban. And what I mean, I'm trying to think of why do you think that is?
They didn't want to relitigate it. It's old news. They're tired of it. Maybe they're just
Hmm.
sleepy, Sitch. Maybe they don't want to have anything to do with this. But I sense that you have a
Well, I think
theory forming in your head
I have a bunch of thoughts about it. I think
about
one
the
of the things you
deep
said.
state.
No, no, that's right. It's the deep state really controls everything is all up. I think you're right in terms of, and it's kind of interesting and also dark and cynical, and I guess leads us back to the comedian mindset here, is so much of what Americans care about and we care about politically is based on something being interesting rather than something being important.
Well, yeah, of
And
course. It's got to be entertaining.
right, it's got to be entertaining because you think about it kind of a fucked up way. The political pundit class, the commentary class that I guess, me and Adam are part of, you know, so many of the people, most people in this field are primarily motivated by increasing their money, their influence, and their size. And you have to do that by being interesting, by being galvanizing, by kind of, creating that righteous anger. And if you get all that energy going, the first time the TikTok ban comes, and then it kind of goes away and it comes back a few weeks or a month later, it's just, as you said, it's just kind of like boring. People are like, well, we already did this. We already talked
Yeah.
about this. We already had all
This old
this
news. What
conversation.
happened?
Right. Yeah.
Nobody
It's
cares about
old
the
news.
outcome. They just want to fight over it.
Right. And so then it just doesn't come up again. So it's so interesting to me that so much of what dictates our politics is just what's interesting to fight about.
Yeah. I
And
can
it's
think of
sad.
someone that took advantage of that to great
Yeah.
effect. Can you
Well, see,
think of
but that
anyone that has taken advantage of that to great effect?
who you think I like everyone? Who are you thinking of specific?
Well, there's a guy who ran
Like
for
a
president
guy
one
named Donald
time.
Trump? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Elon
It
Musk has said this too, that it's, if we live in a simulation, the simulation will be designed for maximum entertainment value, right?
mhm. Right.
And this just screams, yeah, that's kind of true.
Well, I mean, I think simulation theory is retarded, but
Right, right, right. But our situation, I don't want to say our universe because
mhm.
maybe aliens have gotten past this. Our
Right.
world is kind of designed in that way, that whatever is entertaining is topical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Whatever's entertaining is topical. And I wonder if the people in government who kind of decided to shelve the TikTok ban and come back with it,
Knew this?
well, yeah, or are they smart enough to be like, oh, well, we just need to like, because here's the thing. I think if they had never did the TikTok ban until now, right? So they're like, oh, we're never going to put it out. We're just going to put it in this big appropriations bill. I think you would have had all that same energy come out and maybe it wouldn't have passed because people would have been mad about it. It would have been a big controversy. So it's almost like genius. So I don't know if it's intentional or accidental to put it out there, shelve it, and then bring it back a few weeks later when like also there's a lot of other news stories going on. There's all this stuff going on college campuses, which kind of maybe kind of pushes people on the right who are very anti these college protests generally because they're seen, even if they don't really care about Israel, they don't like the woke people that are supporting Israel. I mean, supporting Palestine on these protests. And so maybe that also kind of kills the motivational energy to come out against a TikTok ban because we all kind of see that TikTok is help doing a good part to help create the anti-Israel energy on these college campuses. So I wonder if it was just like, was this all intentional or was it just an accident? It was just a lucky accident.
Lucky accident. There are no coincidences, Sitch. This is
Oh, okay.
obviously the deep state. Stop denying it. Why why are you such a status? Why are you always simping for the
I'm
establishment,
not at a
Sitch?
status. It's two things. There's two things that go on here. Number one, I don't believe anyone is competent enough. The problem with like all these deep
Oh,
state
well, that's true.
conspiracies,
That's true.
yeah, is it like really requires high level of intelligence and high level of coordination between all these various government organizations and various elite groups. When number one, most of these groups are in competition with each other. Most of these different organizations within the government are in competition with each other. Let alone for them all be working in unison. And then number two, I mean, they're all like people are not 10D chess masters. I don't believe that there are these people that can like plan all these moves out. I've never seen anyone accurately, effectively do any of this stuff. It just seems like people get lucky constantly. And it's different. It's like not, it's never the same person who just constantly, like, if there was some guy out there who's just constantly getting all these predictions, constantly nailing, you'd be like, oh, there it is. There's the 10D chess master, right? But you never see that. You see the people that, like, once in a while get lucky with a couple guesses. They make a bunch of money in some investment or something. And then they throw out a bunch of predictions that just never go anywhere after that.
Yeah, that's pretty common. I agree. It's not There's just too much going on for anyone to control all the actors involved to make some master plan come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's another good point too. Is there's just so many part of the good part of our democracy is that there's so many keys in place that would be very difficult to sort of control all these different elements.
They call that decentralized power, Sitch.
Right. Right.
Yeah. It's
But
nice.
it doesn't take a genius to put out a very general theory of let's throw out some legislation. People maybe won't like it. We'll bring it back for a few weeks. Then we'll bring it back again in like a larger appropriations bill when people are kind of bored, don't really want to talk about it again. And also they have to vote for it for other reasons. I mean, that doesn't take that much. That's not like a 10D chess move. That's just like a normal, like sneaky move. So I think that could have been entirely intentional if it was a good play.
Most of the time when these bills do come together and have bipartisan support, I would suspect it's more likely that there are sneaky things going on, because then
Mhm.
everybody is forced to work together. They're like, look, the Republicans are like, look, we need political cover. The Democrats are like, look, we need political cover. Like,
Right.
we're obviously going to pass this thing. Let's pass it in a way that makes us all look good, right? That's when they
Yes.
start looking for things,
Well,
right?
it's fascinating because a lot of people will get mad and they'll say, our we're like in a weird space currently where you see that like both the Democrats and the Republicans both have what I would label as vocal, energized minorities who want to drag the party in a direction that maybe the majority of people don't really want, and that definitely the majority of the politicians don't really think is a good direction to go. They
Right.
want to just drag them both in more ideologically radical or ideological extreme directions.
Right. Yes. And
And
they need to placate those people
but they
constantly.
right, but they need to placate them because they're still important like voting bases and voting chunks. And some people, especially people in those bases, will get mad and say that, their government representatives are not representing the people and thus they're doing something horrible and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And whether you think it's horrible or not obviously depends on whether you agree with what the politicians are doing or agree with what, the groups that want the politicians to change wants. But it is kind of funny because this was actually like the entire point of the way our government was set up. As the founding fathers didn't really trust the masses in a direct democracy sort of way. They're like, oh, you need to have these sort of politicians in Washington, you know, make these decisions on, use their information, use their power to make decisions because the masses can't just do things in this kind of direct way. They can't be trusted to.
Right. I think we can get closer and closer to direct democracy. So,
But we obviously can't
because,
technologically now. But
well, yeah, obviously that radical minority voting bloc would be put aside if it was more direct democracy. But setting that aside, I do notice
Mhm.
it's very interesting. We talked about, I had brought up that, they need political cover, so they throw it in with something else.
Mhm.
Like, the left right now, it's kind of dangerous. The Israel funding is really, that's what's aggravating these far left people. And the Ukraine funding is what's aggravating these far right people. So they put the Israel and the Ukraine funding together and sandwich it in with this TikTok
I
thing.
know. It's hilarious.
It is hilarious, right? But it gives both the left and the right political cover. They can say, listen, what was I going to do? If I'm on the right, I'm like, what was I going to do? Deny Israel money for Israel? And if
Yeah.
you're on the left, you're like, what was I going to do? Deny money for Ukraine? People are dying, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
And bye-bye TikTok, right? F you, Chinese Communist Party.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's good. It's good, right? That's democracy working.
It is. It is.
Anyway, people are probably people don't like the idea that this seems manipulative.
Well, it is
But
manipulative. Yeah, sure, sure.
I'm willing to accept a tiny bit of manipulation in the world if we get more positive outcomes. So,
Well, yeah, as long as it's something that, you
right.
or I want, sure.
Yeah. Manipulating people into the next Holocaust,
That's a bad,
oof.
yeah, we're not that's
Oof.
a whole bad thing.
Please stop. But that's the
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing about decentralized power. That's why people always rage on about decentralized power. But I think we have We have a good feel for the importance of decentralized power in Western style democracies. It's the whole point of a Western style democracy. So
Hmm.
anyway, do you, what else about this TikTok
I don't
thing?
know. That was it, I guess, on the TikTok ban.
Okay. Yeah, no. We'll keep an eye on this cuz we'll see how it plays out. If China is like, "No, we're not going to sell." And then
Yeah,
it
I
gets
mean, yeah,
banned in America.
I can't really foresee that their case will go anywhere. So it'll be interesting to see, will they sell or will it just disappear? I'm not gonna predict anything. I'm not listen, I've made some bad
Who
predictions.
knows?
Okay.
Yeah, who
Who knows?
knows?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Difficult to say. Who cares? We'll
Right.
follow it. We don't need to make a prediction.
That's true.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about Colombia, because that's the fun story.
Columbia University.
Yes. So obviously we've been
Okay.
talking about these we have the evergreen 2.0 moment that's been going on college campuses. And one of the big focal points for this is Columbia University, where a bunch of students, hundreds of students, and possibly people that are not students, have set up tents in the middle of campus and are basically occupying the area. And they're calling it well, it says, "Welcome to the People's University for Palestine." That's what they're calling
Kid,
this.
these
Okay.
kids are so cringe.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally get off my lawn, right? It's literally get off my effing lawn.
Hmm.
Yeah, so they're basically squatting so that the commencement ceremonies can't take place in May and June. So,
Right, right. And also, like, these people, I mean, I guess they're just not going to class either. They're sitting in this lawn.
isn't it finals now? Jeez, I hope some
It's
of these
around
people
that,
get
yeah.
expelled.
There was a really good episode, again, Community, brilliant show. There's a really good episode of Community where Troy and Abed are trying to they're building like like a very large pillow fort on campus. And then the dean comes over and he's like, "Hey, if the Guinness Book of World Records people are coming, you're close to breaking the record." And then Troy's like, "Well, we can break the record if we use blankets." And Abed's like, "No, no, no. We have to stick with just pillows." So so Troy starts building a blanket fort on the other side of campus, and Abed continues the pillow fort. And they get to a point where they're both blocking each other's path. So they basically have a giant campus-wide pillow fight over the creation and destruction of the pillow versus the blanket fort. And Jeff Winger is like the main character, one of the main characters. He's going around to both sides, giving them like these like very inspirational war speeches to fight each other, just because he doesn't want to go to class,
What's
just because he doesn't want to take a test and do homework. And I'm like, I just I feel like there's got to be at least 25% of the kids engaged in this protest are just the Jeff Wingers that are like hyping it up just because they don't want to go to class.
if they're failing in class? That's a good strategy. You can always call mom and dad and say, "Listen, there were people dying in Gaza. What did you expect me to do?"
Yes. Or you could just say, like, "How dare you, teacher? How dare you give me an F on this assignment while I'm fighting to protect the lives of children, innocent babies dying in Gaza, you monster."
Yeah, that professor's basically a baby killer by extension.
Exactly. Exactly. So I wouldn't be surprised. 25-50% of these kids are just fucking grifters. So the kind of interesting thing was going on is, we've been talking about what exactly is going on with the protests. How is it going to end? What is going on between the administration? And I saw today the first article that actually kind of went into this, which is fascinating. We have right now Columbia University admins, their demands to the protesters.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So early this morning, their demands were dismantle and remove a significant number of tents. Now, we don't know what a significant number
Oh,
of
that's
tents are, but
so
okay.
weaselly. So
Yes.
weaselly.
Also kind of cucky. Like, shouldn't just be remove all tents? What is a significant number of tents?
Well, that's different for the faculty and I mean that's different for the administration and different for the protesters. For the protesters it's one tent.
Yeah, what does that mean? Does that mean that they can have is admin like, listen, you can have one tent on the campus that says like free Palestine or something?
You've got your one Palestinian tent.
Because I don't know, like I'm looking at an aerial shot. Um and it looks, I mean, it easily looks like there's over around like 100 tents in the area. Like the whole
Mm-hmm.
area is completely covered. So that was the first demand. Second demand is ensure that those not affiliated with Columbia would leave campus. Only Columbia University students will continue to participate in the protest. The third would be comply with safety guidelines issued by the New York City Fire Department. The old, this is a violation of fire codes argument. That's always an admin classic to try to get people to disband, right?
They're not quite cops, but firefighters are in uniform. So bring them
Yes.
in.
There
Bring
you
them
go.
in. They can start
Uh,
citing fire code, right?
yes, yes. And then the last one is make the encampment welcome to all and bar discriminatory or harassing language.
Oh man, they're basically just giving them carte blanche here. They're like, okay, you guys can stay and protest, but just let everyone come in.
Yes. I mean, yeah, it's pretty weak sauce, announcements in my take of it. So
Sitch wants them to roll out the guillotine.
I want the cops to come in with the fire hoses and the billy clubs and the dogs. Okay.
The protesters would win then. We're always talking about how peaceful protest is how you get what you want. Like
You're
that's not what
right.
you want to see.
That's a good
Fire
point.
hoses? What do you come
That's a
on,
good point.
Sitch? Don't fall for it.
You're right. You're right. They should just come in and just start dragging people away and rest of them.
This is why they're using this cucked strategy.
Mm. I
They
don't know.
don't
You
want to
think
give the protesters a win.
if the police just came in and started dragging people away, you think that would be like I'm not sure it'd be a big win because these kids, they're not really like they're all these kids are super weak. Okay,
Mhm.
they're all pussies. They're all super weak. They don't have any they don't have an ounce of the fortitude that civil rights protesters had or anything like that. And it like the police are just gonna can just pick them up and just throw them, put the little zip ties on and throw them in the car and bring them to jail. Like, do you
Yeah,
think this? I don't think a riot's gonna break out if that happens.
that's a method. That's the
Yeah.
method. You got to just arrest them. You
Hmm.
can't fire hose them or anything.
Yeah, I know. I was just
Yeah.
listen.
Fire
Scenes
hose
I
them when
want
you
to
get them.
see. Right?
Fire hose them when you get them to the police station. That's when you.
Delice them.
That's that's when you go in for the
Hmm.
delousing.
Yes. Yeah. So the I guess and the part of the reason why these demands are important is because originally the president and admin had demanded that this encampment be broken down by this morning, or they
Oh,
were going
okay.
to get the police to come. And now apparently they, regarding these demands that I just read out, the administration at Columbia is saying that they're making progress with the protesters, whatever that means, and that they've now increased the deadline to Friday.
Okay.
So we will know whether all these people get arrested or whether the university will continue, I guess, to cuck out on Friday.
That's their red line Friday.
Yes, they could just keep pushing it back because like they did now, they could be like, "Oh, well, we've made continued progress. It's Friday. We made continued progress with the protesters to do something, right? To do
A
some kind of
significant number of
negotiation."
tents were removed. One.
Yeah, we'll see that. Well, that's what's kind of interesting is because even though they're talking about like making progress with the demands, I don't believe any of these demands have so far been met by the protesters themselves. The amount of tents has like apparently there were people that took tents down last night and they just put them back up this morning when they said that
Oh,
they had
wow.
another 48 hours.
Oh,
So
yeah. I guess they told them to take them down, but they never mentioned anything about not putting them back up again.
yeah, there you go. There you go.
They got out on a technicality. All these kids are in law school, so
Hmm. Well, and you can imagine like there's some of the demands are easy. They could say, "Oh, we will kick out anyone who's not affiliated with Columbia. We'll follow whatever the fire department says because they're probably not going to say anything that exciting." And so they're probably fighting over the number of tents and what does welcome to all mean, right?
right, yeah.
Those are probably the things that they're sticklers. But so, well, I don't know. I'm curious. I'm curious. I can't really see what's going to prediction here about Friday. Will will Columbia administration nut up, send the police in? Because I don't think these kids are going to dismantle on their own. That seems incredibly unlikely. Or will they just keep cucking out and basically letting this go on until the end of the school year? I think so
Well,
much
I
of this.
think this is like a Columbia cuck off here. I think
Mm,
this is like a cuck out, like a
it's not
summer
a
cuck
cookout; it's
out.
a cuck out.
This is like a Columbia summer cuck out. They're ready to they're ready to cuck all summer long here.
Oh, I mean, it is Columbia University is CU. It is Cuck
Oh, it
University.
is. Oh,
Yeah,
look
there
at
you go.
that. Cuck University.
Yeah, there
Perfect.
you go. It's interesting because, like, so the pressures here are fascinating from the president's perspective.
Hmm.
Because on one hand, you're right, they don't want to have the police start coming in and like they don't want to riot because that's going to make
No.
them look really bad. It's going to make it really bad if the police start beating kids over the heads with billy clubs and dragging them away. But the same token, there's all these uh,
Tokens?
investors
Oh,
and donors who are like, who some are Jewish, some are just not crazy, who are looking at this in like disgust. And they're like, we're not going to associate with Columbia anymore. We're not going to work with
oh
Columbia
yeah.
anymore. And then also, the president of Columbia is like, knows that their job is on the line. They know they're walking this tightrope because they saw what happened to Claudine Gay and the other president. They're like, if I handle this poorly, I will get fired.
Didn't Harvard or MIT, they one of them lost a giant grant too that was like millions of dollars. That was
Yeah, it
one of
was
the
it was
reasons
MIT
why.
or Pennsylvania, I think. Penn
Right.
State. But so yeah, I mean, this is very precarious situation for them to sort of try
Hmm.
to navigate. I don't envy the president, but I would say, listen, just don't be a cuck. That seems to be a good strategy in life, right? Don't be a cuck.
I would say let them eat cuck. You reap what you sow.
Okay, okay. And it's also interesting. I was trying to look up what were exactly the Columbia students' demands, right? Because isn't that like the
Okay.
whole point of
Oh,
this is
yes, that's a good
like,
idea. What were the
well,
demands?
it's kind of funny because the whole point about this is like they're making some demands and no one is really like going into in depth to what they are. And their demands are for Columbia University to divest from anything to do with Israel.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, but what do they have to do with Israel? And it's funny because I don't think the students actually don't know. They're just saying, well, they should just have to divest. It's like, well, divest what? They don't know because the students that don't make specific demands about what like Columbia's even invested in.
Protesters, give us a list for divestment.
They're literally saying that. They're literally saying that they want to have, they're demanding a list of transparency in what Columbia's invested in to make sure that they haven't have any investments in Israel because they actually don't know.
Please email it to the administration by 5 p.m. on Friday.
Yeah, there's some like specific, like all these universities, they have these outreach programs with like various countries.
Right.
And so like that's like the only thing they know about is they're like they want to end the outreach program that it has with Israel, which all universities have an outreach program with Israel, with England, with all the different countries. They want them to end their outreach program with Israel. Um, but and then I read an article. It's interesting because even though they don't really know whether they've invested in Israel or not, apparently it would, even if Colombia does have some investment in Israel, it could actually be impossible for them to divest. And the reason for that is because a lot of these investments that colleges now engage in ever since the 90s, they're not just engaged in like buying stocks. They basically have this giant fund that they turn over to like a private equity manager or investment firm
Of
who then
course,
does,
yeah.
yeah, who
Right.
does all the investment for them. And a lot of the investments are in things that you can't just get out of. A lot of them are like futures and real estate and like things you can't just magically wave your wand and say, liquidate all my shares. They have a lot of not liquid assets that they just can't sell off immediately. They have to either wait for them to mature, or find someone to buy them. And so, and because apparently for years, a lot of these college campuses have been trying to divest from anything related to uh, oil companies. And they haven't been able to because it's just
Right.
taking too long. Well, they can. It just takes like, 10 years to
Too
actually
difficult.
completely like divest from it. So
Are there
the
are there any amenities on campus like maybe food courts or vending machines, things that the students like?
I would imagine, sure.
What if we just divest from all of those like immediately, right?
Hmm.
We've discovered a connection between Taco Bell and Israel. We have to close the Taco Bell.
Well,
They should start closing all the things that they like. Up divestment. Well, here we go. We got to do it. Sorry, guys.
so that'd be interesting. You do the super lean in, like we're gonna start divesting in anything, not just related to Israel, anything that has any problem, like attached to slave labor, attached to China, attached to any, country or company that has, maybe companies that don't pay their workers enough, right? And it would just you basically they'd be nothing left, essentially,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So
You're just going to school in a box.
hmm
There's a
they
lot
could
of
do that.
amenities on those campuses.
They could do that. They wouldn't have the admin wouldn't have the strength to engage in that
No,
action.
no.
No.
They're trying to sell people on the campus. A campus with, look, we don't have any food on the campus whatsoever.
Yeah.
Would not be a good selling point.
hmm
Yeah, this
So
divestment thing is, I mean, I don't know. It's silly. It's all of this is silly.
yeah, yeah. And so, but now it's spreading because it's like, these dumb college kids, they see this going on in Columbia and they're like, you know what? Those kids aren't going to class. Those kids aren't doing work and they're having fun and getting virtue signal points, in their little tents. I want to do that too. so, so now we have Princeton. Princeton is also Princeton students want to engage and start their own Gaza solidarity encampment.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
And this
All of
actually
these encampments should unite and form like a United States or something.
the United Encampments of Palestine.
There you go. Look at
There
that.
you go. There you go. You need to figure out like a funny acronym for that.
UEP.
Yeah.
Not
Uh,
doesn't roll off the tongue.
no. PEU. PU. The Palestinian United Encampments. The PU. The poo. Palestinian United Encampments. The poo. I like it. There you go.
That's good.
There you go. So like students are trying to do this in Princeton as well. And actually, this is kind of interesting. The what was the publication? One of these links open.
Princetonian, the Daily Princetonian, Princeton students to start Gaza solidarity encampment. Leaked
Yes.
documents. Oh, look at this.
Yes.
They got a traitor in their midst. Someone's leaking their
Yes.
documents.
They got the leaked documents of like so apparently this encampment doesn't exist yet, but these students are planning the encampment. Okay. And the documents got leaked, including what their demands will be, and also some of their like how they're going to try to recruit people. There's some kind of funny things here. So this is what their demands will be. Okay, first, Princeton must call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza and condemn Israel's genocidal campaign against the Palestinian people. I don't know why
Wow.
college campuses should be engaged in global affairs. It's a college. Like it's very strange, but okay. Second, Princeton must commit to full financial transparency on its investments. That's because they don't actually know if they have, you know. Third, Princeton must disassociate and divest its endowment of all direct and indirect holdings and companies that profit from or engage in the state of Israel's ongoing military campaign, occupation, and apartheid policies. So this is actually, and this is kind of what's going on in Colombia. This is another reason why the demand is completely not even feasible, because they're not just demanding that they disassociate from any company that's Israeli. They're demanding that they disassociate and divest from any company that has any engagement with Israel.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I said the other day, that'd be like if McDonald's exists in Israel, which it does, they say, okay, well, none of these campuses can have McDonald's or have any sort of investment related to McDonald's or any company that doesn't also, not support Israel.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with people supporting BDS. I'm against these the anti-BDS laws. I think if you don't want to support Israel, that's fine. That's your right as an American. I do think it's kind of fucked up when you're like, well, you can't have a company that doesn't follow our ideology. Because that seems to go completely in the realm of like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're not actually, respecting anyone's individual decisions at this point. You're saying that, you want to bully them into essentially believing what you believe.
Yeah, that's pretty common. That's a huge problem with these people.
Yeah.
No diversity of skin color, not diversity of thought, right?
Right. Their fourth demand, which is kind of hilarious because it has nothing to do with any of this, Princeton must divest the roughly $700 billion that it continues to hold in private fossil fuel companies.
Look, they're going after the oil. Hilarious.
That's nothing to do with any of this.
I
You know,
heard America's the number one oil producer in the world at the moment.
is it or is it going to be?
I think it is.
Okay, well, there you go. Look, that's pretty based.
Yeah, you would never think that.
Well, we still need to, I mean, in my opinion, we still need to have some kind of law or regulation that basically says that, you know, that separates the American oil market from the global oil market. It says, listen, I mean, if we're pumping all this oil out of the ground, like other countries, this is kind of annoying me, other Middle Eastern countries that pump their oil out of the ground, like all the citizens get some benefit from it
Right.
directly, whether it be low oil prices or actually a sovereign wealth fund. And we don't have any of that in America.
I've heard machinations around Congress about putting together a wealth fund, sovereign
Ooh,
wealth fund.
that could be
Yeah.
cool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it would be great. Mark
Uh,
Blythe is always talking about how we should do that.
right. The fifth demand is that Princeton must disclose and end Princeton University research on weapons of war funded by the Department of Defense. So there you go. Oh, and also, if Princeton has $700 million to invest in fuel, why is anyone giving money to this college? These colleges are so wealthy, why is anyone actually donating money to these colleges? They have so much money.
Yeah.
It's
Um
pretty gross.
yeah, they just they love these high interest rates. Oh my God, they're getting rich.
Six, Princeton University must refrain from any form of academic or cultural association with Israeli institutions and businesses. What is that? Is weird. That is weird.
No
Cultural
cultural
associations.
association.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Doesn't that mean get out all the Jewish students? Like
Well, they do. They say specifically that this boycott is of institutions, not individuals. So,
okay.
so yeah, I don't know what that means. Seventh, Princeton University must cultivate affiliations with Palestinian academic and cultural institutions directly without requiring them to partner with Israeli counterparts. So essentially allowing them to support directly terrorist organizations.
This is a big ask for just if you don't do this, we're gonna go camping on your lawn.
Yeah, they need to give them, something more if you're trying to coerce someone, you need something more threatening than we're going to camp on your lawn, right?
Yeah, this is I mean the levels of delusion that are going on here are kind of disturbing for,
Mm-hmm.
for Ivy League students.
It is.
These are the leaders of tomorrow. And imagine this is your divorce attorney, Sitch. You're gonna get sent to the cuck chair.
You better give your ex-wife this like mass amount of alimony, and if you don't, she's gonna put a tent right up in your front lawn. She's just gonna sit there. Oh no, whatever am I gonna do?
Scary.
Scary. Hope the sprinklers don't come on.
The sprinklers will be coming on very quickly. Yeah, that's
Yo,
why don't they just turn the sprinklers on,
I
Sitch?
was gonna say, well, because they probably don't have them, but I was like, there's probably people just water them. But maybe this was like a good thing that they're gonna all invest in sprinklers going forward. Just to be able to turn it on and off. And then the last demand is that Princeton must stop sponsoring and facilitating birthright Israel trips, which is kind of fascinating. So, Birthright Israel is essentially there's a program that if you're Jewish in America, at 18, there are various companies that will essentially sponsor your ability to go visit Israel, I believe, for like 2 weeks to a month for like
Mm-hmm.
free of charge of you. You don't have to pay for it. Now, I never did this, but a bunch of people have done it. And it's interesting that they want that to be stopped. That seems kind of a
The
little anti-Semitic, but okay.
the school pays for this?
No, 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 no. That they must stop. Well, I guess maybe they do pay for it to some extent, or they're probably more likely work with companies that do facilitate it.
Okay. So They work with the companies, and the companies pay for it.
Yeah, there's like yeah, it's like a company, it's a a nonprofit organization that does this. Like they get donations to do this and all this stuff.
They take Jewish students from America over to Israel to visit,
Yeah, usually for like the summer.
right? And you didn't take advantage of this free trip to Israel? Why wouldn't you do
No,
that?
I didn't really care. So
Free trip. I
I've been
mean,
to Israel, but I didn't really care. I don't know. Some people say
oh,
it's fun
okay.
just because you're going over like to Israel with a bunch of like 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds, kids your age. So I mean, I get it. It's probably fun, but
This
I'm
is how
antisocial.
they
I don't really
start.
care.
This is how they facilitate so many Jewish weddings, right? So many.
I mean, probably that's a good point. Yeah, probably a lot of
This is
people
probably
meet,
why they do it,
just to hook up.
right? All these
Hmm.
kids are marrying outside of the tribe. We need to fix this. How do we do it? Oh, I know. Let's organize a trip. They're probably
Mm,
doing matchmaker in the wings there.
that's a good point. I didn't think about that. You're right. Yeah, I should have
Yeah.
gone. I could have met a nice Jewish girl.
Yeah. Look,
Hmm.
you messed up, man.
I know.
Your life could have been completely different.
Probably for the worse though.
Who knows? I hear Jewish girls are high maintenance.
Maybe.
Well, I
So
mean, I've heard all girls are high maintenance, but Jewish ones are
I was gonna
especially
say,
high
I heard
maintenance.
like the female species is high maintenance.
Of course, I heard it from the red pill community, so
Of course, of course.
you know it has to be true.
Yeah. So then another document was leaked, which was part of the students' planning documents of how to get people on board with this. And this
Hmm.
how to get students on board with this, I should say. And it's kind of interesting. So I'm going to read some parts of this document. They say, like, we want students to understand the risk. Okay. And they say, here's some potential risk things. Student
Risk for what?
discipline,
Hold on, risk for what?
like this, like risks of trouble the students could get in for participating in this
Okay, so
encampment.
this is the opening salvo from Princeton. They're saying, look,
No. This is the students like sending out a document. They say, but as you're recruiting people, you
oh,
should
okay,
like
okay,
tell
let them
them
know the
these are the
risk.
risks,
Got it.
and then
Okay,
like these are the thing, like why maybe it's not risky.
you could spill a Slurpee in your tent.
Yeah,
Like,
you could get ants. Exactly.
there's
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, good. That's good. They need to let them know, right? Be
Hmm.
sure to bring your inhaler.
Yeah, exactly.
It could get cold at night. Bring a
Yes.
jacket.
Right. They say, here you go, student discipline. Sanctions can include minor things like apologizing or probation. Like that.
Well, look,
Apologizing.
as someone who doesn't like to publicly apologize, I appreciate that they're putting that as number one. Like
Right.
you may have to apologize. I'm out of here.
Yes. Yes.
Screw this movement.
Hmm. And all these apologies, they're all fake. No one gives like, none of these people give real apologies.
Oh, of course.
Or probation or more serious penalties like loss of university housing or suspension. And then right under it says
Ooh.
understanding suspension. Length of suspension can vary between a semester and a year. Financial aid for the repeated semester is revoked. So you say, okay, well, that's like a serious thing, right? So it's like a good thing if they bring that up, right? But then right under it says, bring this up as a reassurance, not a risk. We think expulsion is highly unlikely. Only students who have been expelled in the movement at Vanderbilt University were expelled for touched. I don't know why they grammar mistake here. Assaulted a police officer. Expulsion is highly unlikely at Princeton as it requires a committee, and we know that at least two faculty members who are part of the committee are in the Faculty for Justice in Palestine.
No. Oh my God. So they've got people on the
The
expulsion
inside.
board. Yeah.
Yes.
Look
Yes.
at this. Wow.
That is, yeah,
Okay.
that is pretty. I don't know. Maybe that's part of what's going on in
Hmm.
Columbia, but it's pretty disgusting if at Princeton they literally can't expel students because they have some two woke, a-hole teachers that are on this board, on this committee, and you can't get rid of them because, like, we support the movement. Oh,
We got veto power right here.
yeah, disgusting. Legal charges. Unlikely to be more than trespassing. We'll get a warning before we are told we are trespassing, so there would be an opportunity to leave. There you go.
Hmm.
Safeguards. We will have infrastructure, food, water, funds, etc. Now that's interesting. Who's paying for this? Isn't that interesting? Where's this money coming from? There'll be a minimum of 20 people camping overnight. we will have pro bono legal support. So you have a bunch of law students, I guess. We have a
Good.
trained security team. What the fuck?
Oh, really? Wow.
Okay, okay.
We've hired security guards.
Yeah. We will have faculty members on our side to negotiate with administration.
Wow. Oh,
Oh,
that's all those pro-Palestine faculty that need to get fired.
yes. Yeah. If I was president, I would just fire anyone involved with this just on the spot. Be like, oh, really? That's great. You're gone. Get out of here.
I love that Sitch is like the hang 'em high judge on all this stuff. It's
Because
so great.
it's just so stupid.
He
It's so
finally
stupid and so
adopted my
terrible.
attitude. Look, if I keep thinking I have to look up the Art of War. There's this passage in the Art of War that we have to listen to on stream because it's so perfect for all this. Like people just laugh and giggle and screw around until some heads roll. And then everyone whips into shape and they're like ready to go. They're like completely changed immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, even in that document, they're saying, expulsion is unlikely. Expel 100 kids. Do it.
Do it.
Make that
But
document say expulsion is likely.
you're 100% correct, because so much of this and so much of these students across the country that basically feel no fear to do this is because they know that these admins are so cucked.
Yes. They're mentioning expulsion because that's their line. It
Yes.
is.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, start with 5 students, right? You'll make those 5 students. The thing about doing 100 students is that none of them will become like a big name. Like
Because
if
there's
you
too
do,
many of them. That's
yeah,
a
if you do
great
like
point.
5 students, like they're going to be martyrs. Like they're going to
Yes.
they're going to be on speaking engagements all around the country,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to embolden more people. You
Right.
expel 100 students, and everyone's like, "Who do we look at? Oh shit,
You're
they're
right.
coming for everyone!
That's a great
Run!"
point. And you gotta do it like really quick
Yeah,
without a lot of warning.
you're
Just
like,
be like,
"Here's the
yeah,
list.
yeah.
We're
Like,
expelling
whoops.
100 students." Look, they should just come out and say, "Listen, we turned away 5,000 students last year. Okay, pretty easy for us to replace 100 students.
Yeah.
Like we have 5,000 students that want to get in the school
People
right
are
now."
dying to get into Princeton.
Yeah,
There's like the
exactly.
backlog of
Exactly.
people. Yeah.
Guess what? We're giving them your spot. Here's a list of 100 kids
Mm-hmm.
and the guy that's going to replace you. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
So long.
Well,
Have fun in Gaza.
that might actually happen. Before I continue going, because there's more things I want to talk about in this leaked document, but the vice president for campus life at Princeton, Rochelle Calhoun, wrote in an email sent to undergraduate students at 10 a.m. this morning. They said, quote, any individual involved in an encampment, occupation, or other unlawful disruptive conduct who refuses to stop after a warning will be arrested and immediately barred from campus. For students, such exclusion from campus would jeopardize their ability to complete the semester. In addition, members of our community would face a disciplinary process. For students, this could lead to expulsion, delay of diploma, or expulsion.
Oh, so people are fighting back. Good.
Yes. So that, I mean, I hope they keep up to that. But so very strong out of the gate thing. And I actually wonder, it's interesting because they said that people would be immediately barred from campus, not expelled. And so the students saying like, oh, you probably won't get expelled because we have some like, some insiders. Well, maybe the workaround is like, well, we're not going to expel you. We're just going to bar you from campus. Oh, you can't do your classes? You're going to fail your classes? Oh, well, that's too sad for you, isn't it? You're barred from campus.
Yeah. A clear expulsion would be better, but obviously I'll take what I can get.
Yes. Yeah, this could be a workaround. So in the leaked document, they continue, they have different roles, okay? Different roles for different comrade levels, okay? And now, to be clear, they do use the word comrade themselves.
Oh my God. I thought you were joking.
No. They say, so they kind of like lay out like what to do if the person says yes, what to do if the person says no, what to do if the person says maybe. And they say, no matter what they answer, ask them for 5+ names of comrades they think will be down for the party.
Oh my. They're rewriting the Communist Manifesto here.
Yeah. So any people, because I've heard a lot of people on the left say like, oh, this is just about like the genocide in Gaza. It has nothing to do with socialism, right? Oh, okay. They just wrote the name. They just wrote comrades in there for no fucking reason, right?
Hmm.
So here are the roles that they chose, and again, kind of interesting. Just think of the colors they chose. The top role would be a red role. Okay, you get called a red. So who knows why that is, right? Who
This,
who can guess?
this doesn't seem real, Sitch.
I know. So, and it literally says these are the roles. Reds. Only people who are in the encampment who assuming the academic and legal risks. Okay. So if you're like a top level risk taker, you're a red, right?
I cannot believe that the squash all hierarchies people are literally are literally putting together a hierarchy.
Yes, yes. Yellows. This is the next role.
Mhm.
Yellows. People who run supplies, food, go in and out of the encampment. Marshals, liaisons with admin and police will help folks vacate when warnings are given. And then the lowest level is the greens. They'll do picketings, speeches, not in the encampment, surrounding rallies, outreach, and general support.
Look at this. They have the highest ranking people are secret. They don't want them giving speeches or to anyone know who they are.
That's true.
They got
That's
the
true.
secret police going
Yeah,
already.
that's a good point. Yeah. So, and it's funny, and this is actually interesting. This actually totally screws them over. It says, this is in the document, it says, what specific university rules does this break? The action says this action violates the demonstration policy, the filming policy, and the outdoor space policy. Now, this is actually retarded that they included this. Whoever wrote this document's an idiot because this completely means that they can't claim any level of ignorance when they get hauled in front of a disciplinary tribunal because it says, well, your document says you knew that you were breaking all these policies.
Wow, that's a good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then there's some other questions that are kind of interesting. It says, they say, here are the FAQs for this. What is the likelihood of revocation of diploma for graduating students? Oh, and here's a good one. Yeah,
This,
right.
this just screams what's important to them.
I know. But here's an interesting one. I'm on a student visa. What are the risks
Ah!
for me? Okay. It's like, well, that's a good point. Okay. And you'd say, okay, so if you're on a student visa, like you don't want to participate in this because if you get expelled or expelled from campus, you could get literally deported,
Right, yeah.
right?
Back
And
to
then you're
Gaza.
right. Yo, there you go. This is interesting. It says, I have a green card. What are the risks for me? Academic discipline from Columbia would not impact green card status. There are three categories of criminal conviction that could impact green card status: aggravated felonies, crimes involving drugs, and crimes of moral turpitude. The first two are criminal conviction would definitely not apply as action. The third type of criminal conviction would likely not. Crimes of moral turpitude usually include things like fraud, rape, and abuse. So it's unlikely, but not impossible that trespassing, arrest, charge, or conviction would threaten green card status. So there you go. Listen, if you have a green card, just totally risk it, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Then they say, they talk about suspensions ending health insurance for student workers. They talk about how long would reversing a suspension or expulsion take?
Wow, they really want you to know the risks here.
They do. There's no clear timeline for when suspensions or expulsions would be issued or when they might be reversed. Suspended or expelled students would not be able to attend class even if they reside in Columbia housing. Columbia may attempt to initiate eviction proceedings. Um, Based on the experience of currently suspended students, you're not allowed to attend classes for the duration, obviously. That was kind of interesting. They talk about here, they say that they think it's unlikely that people would be wholesale expelled from school because there'd be too many students participating in this action. So that'd be why it would be important for what you were saying, um, to have like a large number of students right off the bat just be hit with this. They say the numbers we have planned would mean any disciplinary action has a good chance of being reversed. So they think that they'll just have too many students to actually suffer any negative consequences.
Right, yeah.
Then they talk about, getting hit with the trespassing charges, and they think it wouldn't be a big deal. They have a bail fund already, which
Of
is
course.
interesting, but
Yeah.
okay. and it's just it continues on a little bit. But so that was kind of interesting to me. All of this stuff, all this planning going into Princeton. So I guess we'll find out if this comes into the pass and if Princeton holds ground and just immediately starts kicking these students out of school. So we'll see. That'll be a fun story when it comes to a head.
None of the risk is worth it because all it is a virtue signal. None of
Yeah.
those demands have any probability of getting even looked at
No.
like by anyone who has the power to enact them.
Well, and even if they do, like even if the college did do all this stuff, it wouldn't really have any impact whatsoever on Israel, like
Yeah,
in the war.
exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zero impact. So basically you're risking your entire academic career for zero impact. The reason that the cost benefit that they're really making is, look, I got a virtue signal to my peers, my friend group, everyone is doing it and I want to look cool with them. Is it worth risking suspension to look cool? And they're like, yes. It is 100% worth it, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a
Yes.
calculation that they're making. Is it worth risking expulsion to look cool? No, definitely not, right? I
Hmm.
think that's the calculation that they're making. Very rational calculation. Look, these Princeton students are not complete dummies. It seems like they know where to draw the line. So they are dummies in the sense that it's just, well, I guess, look, if maybe they don't really even care about Gaza. It's just about the virtue signal. So
Right.
maybe they aren't dummies.
Well, and there's an interesting wrinkle too. So Princeton, if you didn't know, is in the state of New Jersey. Okay.
Okay.
And New Jersey is one of these states that has a law that says that the government will not give any money to anyone that supports any BDS actions.
Right.
And so, since a lot of even private colleges, they do get a lot of money from the
Really?
government. They are
Wow.
heavily
Okay.
involved in a lot of government activity. It would probably be impossible for for Princeton to even engage in this, even if they wanted to. So it's stupid. If these kids really wanted to protest something, why don't they should be doing this, in the New Jersey legislature or something, not the college campus.
BDS is
Boycott, divestment, sanction.
okay. I always get that mixed up with the B BTK, bind, torture, kill guy.
Oh, I
So,
thought you were gonna say with the bondage, the BDSM stuff.
oh yeah, that too.
It's only one
So,
letter off.
yeah, so yeah, that's interesting that New Jersey has a law against the divestment from forcing people to divest from Israel, right?
Well, no,
That's
you can do it. You can, but the government, the local government, say government won't put any money into any organization
who is
that does a
divesting.
BDS. Yeah,
Right.
right.
Okay. Interesting. Is there a large Jewish population in New Jersey? Maybe there is. I'm not sure why they have
I believe there
local laws
is.
against that. Okay, well that makes sense. The
Yeah.
local people are saying, "Hey, don't be mean."
And also, and it's interesting too, because in Colombia they're asking for the same thing. Now, to my understanding, even though New York City is the highest concentration, I believe, of Jews in the entire country, they don't. It's weird. They don't have an official anti-BDS law, though they've tried to pass it. It's never passed. But there is an executive order from the governor a few years ago that has never, to my knowledge, been overturned. That essentially says the same thing, that the government won't, give any money to any organization that engages in BDS movement stuff. So, so it's even, from that perspective, if that's still going on, Colombia probably even can't, you know, and or would lose way too much money to actually be engaged in any of this nonsense in the first place.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So that's a wrinkle.
Yeah.
Got two opposing forces there: the students that want them to divest, and the local government who will not do any business with them if they divest.
Right. Which would be a huge blow to
Right.
any of these big universities.
All right.
So there's an interesting Atlantic article. It's kind of talking about the Columbia protest. I had a couple excerpts I wanted to talk about, which are pretty fun.
Okay. Did you send me that article or?
I did.
Okay.
It was the unreality. Did I send it to you? I
I don't
didn't
think you
send it to
did.
you.
That's okay.
Hold on. Let me send it to you right now. It's called The Unreality of Columbia's Liberated Zone.
Let's check it out. Let us check it out together.
Yes. X is over capacity. What does that mean?
Well, that
That,
means there are too many people complaining in the world
wow, they really.
simultaneously.
Oh, okay. Interesting. They don't want me to send this to you.
Okay, well, look. What's it called?
Oh, there, it went through.
I did look up. It is true in
Hmm.
2024 with a rough estimate of 11, is that million or billion? 11 million barrels per day. The United States is a top oil producing country in the world,
Nice.
as it has been for many years. Look, people on the street don't know that shit, do they?
Hmm.
America's literally number one when it comes to producing oil, gas producing
I
oil.
mean, base, right?
Yeah. I mean, depending on your perspective, but yeah.
All right, let me read some supers. The enthusiastic pastry for $5 says, my friend's sister goes to Harvard, and she was the only one of her friend group who didn't sign the letter, which is why she kept her scholarship. Wow.
Wow. I hope she's going to social media to tell him to suck it.
That's pretty hilariously awesome. Well, there you go. Good for your sister. RBGH fan for $5 says, if this was for reciprocity, fine. Or is it about shutting down talk of Palestinian citizens being pushed for atrocities committed by terrorists? I'm not sure I understand that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I do either.
About shutting down talk of Palestinian citizens being punished for atrocities committed by terrorists. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Oh, maybe should Palestinian institutions be punished for what Hamas has done?
Well, I mean, the issue isn't that they're not. It's not a complaint to saying that you can't have protests on campus, even, or you can't have Palestinian speakers on campus that are talking about like that they were died or their family members have died or friends have died. It's saying you can't have this permanent encampment that exists on campus until these demands are met, which is what the protesters are claiming they're going to do.
Right.
Oh, the TikTok ban he's talking about.
Oh,
I mean, I don't think it's anything to. Well, I would imagine that the Israel stuff is probably motivating people. From my perspective, is just because you don't want China to have the information that they're getting from accounts to essentially spy on people, and two, to have China just have any sort of control over any algorithm that has such a massive influence on our youth. So
yeah, we want to have a massive influence on our youth, not the Chinese Communist Party.
exactly,
Yeah. We want movies and and musicians,
American
right?
culture.
Yeah. We want WAP to
There you
have
go.
a giant influence on American youth.
Nomad for $2 says the Summer of Love Part Dos Electric Boogaloo. I mean, that'd be funny. I think there's basically no chance that this will become like some kind of BLM stuff. People just don't care enough about it, except for these like privileged college kids who are doing it to virtue signal, and they're all too pussy to like start rioting and stuff.
Yeah. The I mean, Occupy was about the rich, which are always universally hated. This actually has like it seems to be against just normal Jewish people, which has a tinge of anti-Semitism to it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Prometheus Unbound, thank you for the $5. Current for
yeah,
17 months says, hey guys, sorry to bother, but I didn't see a link to the protest video. If it was in chat, I probably didn't see it. If you do know where I can find it, I put the link. I believe Adam put the link in the previous video.
I
In the
put it
previous
in the
stream, we talked about it.
stream. Yeah, the stream that we talked about it. So the thumbnail is like a protester.
And then also, I put the link for the compilation I made for Brianna Greyjoy. I put the link for that in the video that we uploaded today in the description.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Someone on
Nice.
Twitter asked for it, so I put it there.
Sweet.
Schmokey for $10 says, I noticed turning to religion seems to be the new counterculture for Gen Z, and creators like Melanie Mack are becoming very openly anti-LGBTQ. I'm worried the pendulum is swinging back too fast. I think there's a very, very, very good chance that there's going to be a pretty big pendulum swing. Um, I'm not convinced it's going to become a dominant pendulum swing the way that I think like all of what hist is. But I do want to talk about that, and we will after this because actually, uh, Konstantin Kissing has an interesting, who's from trigonometry, had an interesting tweet about this. So,
Sweet. Can't wait.
Puck971 for $10 says, my brother works for Columbia University and he works at the School of Engineering. And he heard from a lot of engineering students that their biggest concern was access to the lab and Calc 2 finals. Interesting. Is that location in some place that's like difficult to get to because of the protests?
Yeah, this has got to be a nightmare for people who are serious students who are just like, look, I'm a straight A student. I got a 4.0 GPA. You guys are really cramping my style here.
Yeah, and it is kind of disgusting too, because like yeah, as you were saying, there's a lot of students who just want to get their degree because they actually want to be productive American citizens, and it's like they have to, have all these people shouting on college campus at all times of the day and night, for their political cause, which has really nothing to do with being a student whatsoever on a college campus.
It's hard for me to imagine any of these speakers are scholastically gifted, Sitch. Is that bigoted?
I would probably agree with that. I would probably agree with that, yeah.
We'll see.
The Real Holtonator for $5 says, just reenact the rebellion in the last church, a Warhammer 40K novel. I haven't
Is
read
that a
that,
good one?
so.
Maybe I should check it out. I read one and I thought it was really good, but I read another one and I thought it was kind of meandering. So it's like a 50-50.
Boba Peck for 21 months. Thank you so much. As I think you guys mentioned the USC valedictorian. I looked at a few stories, but every article is pretty vague. Do you guys know anything more?
Yeah, I saw it in local news. That was the first thing that I sent you, Sitch, because I monitor all the local news for Los Angeles, and
Mm.
that's where it first kicked up. But then I was like, oh wow, this is becoming a national news story because I saw a lot of people covering it.
And what did you see?
The valedictorian, we were laughing about her minor. She had a minor in like genocide studies or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
Cultural genocide. I
It was
don't know.
like
I can't.
stopping genocide or stopping colonization or I don't know, some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a major in engineering or something. It was like
Yeah, or biology.
really
I don't know, something normal. And
okay.
then
There you go. Yeah, I
some
think it was
ridiculous minor.
biology.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So she was, I guess, they caught wind that she was going to make her speech about Palestine or something, and they were like, nah, and they told her she couldn't speak. I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe they monitored her social media posts or something like that. So, but then a bunch of the news media was picking it up. Rage. This is an infringement on someone's free speech.
Right.
Which do you look? Do you want your? There's got, you've got hundreds, maybe thousands of kids graduating. Do you want? I guarantee you, there are kids in that crowd that don't want their graduation to be about Palestine. They want it to be about their future,
Well,
not
they
some
said,
fringe political movement.
I think you're right, but so the excuse the college gave, if I recall correctly, was they weren't saying that they weren't allowing them to speak for that. They're saying it was a security concern, right?
Oh yes, you're
A
right.
finger
That
quote
was
security concern.
that was
Yeah.
the out.
Right.
It's
Right.
funny they use the same out they use when they disinvite right wingers.
Yes. And yeah, they don't like it suddenly when it's being used against them.
Yeah, funny.
Hmm.
Nobody likes it. Come on, nobody likes it. But I do. My intuition about fairness is, why do you want to force this on a bunch of students who've worked very hard 4 years to get a degree and to graduate? They want to graduate with their friends and family. And then you make it all about your pet political issue? How about
Yes.
no? How about no? How about you make it some sort of conciliatory speech about the future that you all face together as students.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many of you are going over to fight in the IDF? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
0 probably. But,
Well, it's probably one. There's always one.
okay,
There's
there's
always
one
one
guy.
of
Yeah.
everything.
Sure. I
Yeah,
guess that's true.
exactly.
That's true. Well, it's interesting too, because like, so a lot of this movement, there's a lot of the focus is they're saying, listen, we're not anti-Semitic. We're just like anti-Zionists. We're anti-Israel. And it's interesting because even if that's true, that's still a violation of like all the civil rights legislation that we have in this country. You're not allowed to discriminate someone on the basis of race, sex, religion,
Or
or
national
national
origin.
origin, right? Everyone
Yeah.
forgets the national origin line because it usually doesn't come up too much recently. And all these protests are all attacking people and on a basis of national origin whenever they start saying about how Zionism is like some evil racist settler colonial ideology or whatever it is they say.
That is an excellent point. I'm so glad that you brought that up.
So it's interesting because they're all like, oh no, it's like, okay, you're still violating civil rights acts. I don't know. Like, good, okay, good for you, I guess. What was the okay? Here's her name. I was curious. I want to see what was her minor.
Was this from a super chat?
She had a minor in resistance to genocide. That was what it was
Oh,
called.
there we go. Yeah.
USC resistance to genocide. What is this fucking thing? Like,
Are
can
we?
you imagine this?
Yeah.
I think I remember looking this up, and kind of the irony is that a lot of the classes in the resistance to genocide were about like the Holocaust. So I guess I didn't take.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't believe that'd be an actual minor offered at a school.
Oh, I can't. Are we still doing super chats? Or are we on the
Yes, we were doing
story?
super
I'm
chats.
not
Yeah.
sure. Oh, okay.
Sir Hostess of the Liver for 200 Kazakazark says, thrilled about the TikTok ban and more aid for Ukraine. Watch Tim Pool's take on it. For some reason, he started talking about population culling mid video. What?
Population culling?
Wow.
What?
Okay. I'll have to check that out. That sounds interesting. I don't know what the TikTok ban has to do with population of culling, but okay, sure. I'll look into it. Otracy for $5 says, I'm setting up my tent in chat until Sitch and Adam divest from Israel.
Divest. We're going to invest.
There you go. There you go. That's
Look,
true.
I think there's some money to be made in some of these Lockheed Martin defense contractor stocks.
Mm-hmm.
That's what do you think?
I agree.
Yeah. Look, we're not, we're Switzerland here. We're just here to make money in the stock market.
We're Switzerland, but like we're here to make money and clown on stupid people.
Right. Do you remember this Superman? I guess you can't
What?
see it. I brought it up on the thing.
Oh, I see it.
This thing is.
Keep your school all American.
And remember, boys and girls, your school, like our country, is made up of Americans of many different races, religions, and national origins. So, if you hear anybody talk against a schoolmate or anyone else because of his race, because of his religion, race, or national origin, don't wait. Tell him that kind of talk is un-American.
Nice. Look Superman's over here. Like,
even
listen.
Superman knows. Yeah.
Superman's like, you guys need to stop.
You guys need to chill. You and your manifestos need to fuck off already.
Yo, the counter is Superman. Why don't you just go save all the hostages with your X-ray vision and super speed?
What? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Why aren't you in Gaza right now, you piece of shit?
Yeah, Superman, what the fuck? You could save so many innocent lives by just taking out Hamas without having to blow everything up.
Look, it's more important that he's about keeping our schools all American.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
There's priorities here.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Get your own superhero. The Super Zionist.
There you go. I mean, Superman was created by Jews.
Like oh, yeah,
20s,
you're right.
So.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Didn't they get dicked out of royalties or something?
Did they?
I believe they did. Yeah.
I don't know. That sucks.
Yes.
The real Holtonator for $5 says these people hate America, right? So the admin should divest of anything funded, subsidized, or related to the U.S., starting with the students. There you go. Nomad for $20. Thank you so much. Says, look, guys, I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, but I got to bring it up. You take out the belt and the sandal and you beat the demon out of those kids. Lay down some authority and not let the students run the college. I don't listen. I don't support beating the children. Okay. I don't support that.
Well,
But
look, I
I support your speech to support that nomad. All right. So thank you.
I think we need to get the paddle back on the wall. So
Right. Brian Alleman for $20. Thanks so much. Says oil and gas professional here in 2023. The US produced 13,315,000 barrels of oil per day, the most in the world. Oil and gas benefits the owners of the mineral rights, which in the US is usually private citizens. Well, there you go. Look at that.
mhm.
Based US production. Now gives me some of that money. Moondoggy for $10 says, I wouldn't be surprised if these activists still have connections back from protesting Trump during 2020. Places like ACLU leech off these movements and probably connected them to other dudes. That is a good point.
Yeah.
Spark7907 for 5 Canadian says, if you want a good one-off 40K book, Storm of Iron, IORN, is great. If you want a series with a fun main character, Cyphus Kane, too poor to add more names, LOL. Well, thank you, though.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll take these. That's for sure. Copying and pasting right now.
Antelope for $2 says Jews being given the same status as straight white men. Essentially. I always said Jews are going to be the downfall of woke movement because they're like the ticking time bomb that they're going to have to go after at some point. Austin Unruh for $5 says, funny enough, a buddy told me Columbia is a good school to apply to as they have a large veteran community and don't just pay lip service to it. Interesting. Well, I guess we'll see how this all turns out. Drew the Dogman for $2 says it's actually pronounced Supermin. There you go. Instead of Superman, it's Supermin.
Hmm.
Okay, let me see. Open the Streamlabs real quick here. The Holtonator for $5 says, fuck that. Just send a C-130 overhead, drop a Bradley fighting vehicle out the back, and open it up. Explosions and firing aren't head rolling. Closed caskets are. I don't support dropping a tank on the protesters, Holtonator, but there you go.
Wow. That's an interesting solution.
Yeah. Dr. Diller for $2 says, I expect TikTok to get sold just to extract some value, but truthfully, I'd be happy if they didn't and TikTok just vanishes entirely from the US. There you go. And Asif Arsi for $2 says, on the Israel-Gaza debate, I wish they had this question. Should Israel continue to allow aid into Gaza? And how is this any different than propping up Hamas? Yeah, well, that's the $1 million question. How do you get aid into Gaza without, Hamas just sucking it up for their own terroristic purposes? So,
Yeah. That's a challenge.
okay, I want to read some parts from this, The Unreality of Colombia's Liberated Zone, because it's kind of hilarious. So this Atlantic reporter, and by the way, the Atlantic isn't some super right-wing publication. They actually have their front page article today is Adam Sewer, who I'm not a fan of, hilarious name.
He's hugely left-wing.
Yeah, super left-wing, and he's complaining about the right, complaining about this protest. But there was a journalist for The Atlantic who went to the Columbia Liberated Zone and talked to some people, and some funny things came out from this. Okay. So the first thing he does, he talks about the clip that we saw, which is the guy saying, "Attention, everyone! We have Zionists who entered the camp." Is that an accurate?
I finally got you to do your lispy rendition.
My lispy voice. I mean, listen, that guy sounded
Some
very.
Zionists have entered the camp.
Listen, I have no problem with my homosexual brethrens, but
Right.
that guy sounded very gay.
Oh, he did. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. He said, so if you remember, they said, we are going to create a human chain where I'm standing so that you do not pass this point and infringe on our privacy. And the reporter said, privacy struck me as a peculiar goal for an outdoor protest at a prominent university. But it has been a strange 7-month journey from Hamas's horrific slaughter of Israelis, the original breach of the ceasefire, to the liberated zone of the Columbia campus and similar standing protests at other elite universities. What I witnessed seemed less likely to persuade than to give collective voice to righteous anger. A genuine sympathy for the suffering of the Gazans mixed with a fervor and a politics that could border on the oppressive.
Yeah, that was our take.
Right.
We were like, these are the fascists right here.
Yep. And he talked to the person, one of the girls who was there that the line of people was trying to prevent from entering.
Oh, nice.
Jessica Schwalb, a Columbia junior, is one of those labeled an intruder. In truth, though, she does not much fear violence. She said, quote, they're Columbia students, too nerdy and too worried about their future to hurt us.
She shined them on. Look at that.
Yes, that's pretty good. She was taken aback, though, by the sight of fellow students chanting like automatons and raised her phone to start
Ooh.
recording.
I see why you like this article. They're basically saying everything we said when we were reacting
Yes,
to it. Yeah.
yes. As the crowd drew closer, Schwalbe, that's what a weird name, and her friends pivot and leave. Even the next morning, she's baffled as to how they were targeted. Save for a friend who wore a Star of David necklace, none wore identifying clothing. Maybe, she says, they smelled the Zionist on us. That is interesting. Why were they targeted in the first place? That is interesting. Because, I mean, if it can't, it shouldn't just be the Star of David necklace, because supposedly they're like, well, as Brianna was saying, oh, there's so many Jews in the anti-Israeli movement, right?
Right. Yeah. How do they know they're Zionists?
You're right. I don't know. Maybe the
They
Star of
could
David
be
is too
pro-Palestine. They could be
right.
Palestinian Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait.
There you go. Many protesters argue that from the river to the sea, the settler colonial state must simply disappear. To inquire, as I did at Columbia, what would happen to Israelis living under a theocratic fascistic movement such as Hamas is to ask the wrong question. A young female protester who asked not to be identified responded, maybe Israelis need to check their privilege.
Oh, wow. Just change the subject. Change the
Yes.
subject as quick as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As for the encampment itself, it has an intifada meets Woodstock quality at times. Dance clubs offer interpretive performance. There are drummers and other musicians and obscure poets reading obscure poems. Some tents break out by identity groups. Lesbians against genocide. Hindus for intifada. Banners demand the release of all Palestinian prisoners. Small Palestinian flags embroidered with the names of Palestinian leaders killed in killed in Gaza are planted in the grass. Is there anyone that says to release the hostages?
Oh,
Any
good
banners to release
point.
the hostages? I don't know.
I was going to
During
say, where are the lesbians in favor of genocide? But then it occurred to me that that would be the radical feminists
there you go.
because they're in favor of genociding men, right?
Yes. That is true. That is true. 100% true. During my 9-hour visit, talking with student protesters proved tricky. Upon entering the zone, I was instructed to listen as a gatekeeper read community guidelines that included not talking with people not authorized to be inside. Isn't that interesting? We need to have such free speech here that all the people in the free speech zone have been authorized to not talk to anyone else.
It's just when these super fascist movements crop up, it's amazing how they always have the same kind of strategy. It's
Yes.
always very, just very cut down information sharing, make everything private and secret,
Mm-hmm.
shun all outsiders. Always forms the same way.
Yeah, but listen, this is a free speech movement. Now, everyone in our movement, shut up and don't use your free speech.
This is liberalism in action here, right, Sitch? This is the progressive left.
No, this is communism in action.
This is illiberalism, yeah.
Yes,
The
illiberalism.
illiberal left.
Yes.
The right does such a disservice when they don't point that out, when they just say everyone on the left is like a liberal.
Because they're using it for their own cynical purposes to just win elections, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only point. Um, okay, that's funny. I then stood in the press zone and waited for Layla Saliba, a social work graduate student who served as a spokesperson for the protest. So I like that this free speech protest has a specific press zone for press people to be able to talk to only specific people. She talked at length and with nuance. Hers, however, was a near singular voice. As I tore a deliberated zone, I found most protesters distinctly non-liberated when it came to talking with a reporter. This guy's a great author. This is hilarious. Leaders
It's like
take
a
pain.
cult.
Exactly. Leaders take pains to insist that for all the chants of, quote, from the river to the sea and promises to revisit the 1948 founding of Israel, they are only anti Zionist and not anti Jewish. They even held a Shabbos dinner during my visit and were planning a Passover Seder. There you go. But to talk with many Jewish students who have encountered protests as they hear a cumulative toll taken by words and chants and actions they call to mind something ancient and ugly. Earlier in the day, I interviewed a Jewish student on a set of steps overlooking the tent city. Rachel, who asked I not include her surname for fear of harassment, said that on the day after October 7th, an email went out from a lesbian organization called Lion Les. I know these fucking student organizations. Like, can we just like just study? Stating that Zionists were not allowed at a group event. A subsequent email from the club's president noted, quote, white Jewish people are today and have always been the oppressors of all brown people.
Wow. Wow.
Also, they said, quote, when I say the Holocaust wasn't special, I mean that. The only outward manifestation
What?
of Rachel's
That was in
sympathy
the email?
that was in the email, yeah.
Wow.
There you go. Another student, Sophie Arnstein, told me that after she said in class that Jewish lives matters, others complained that her Zionist beliefs were hostile, and she ended up dropping the course. Don't
Wow.
listen. You gotta stand your ground, man. Don't be a pussy. You gotta
She said
trigger these kids as much as possible. That
Jewish
said, the
lives
students I interviewed
matter.
told me that the physical violence has been rare on campus. There have been reports of shoves, but not much more. Well, at least that's something. There was been reports of people outside campus saying "Jew, Jew, fuck you." Oh, and this is the end of the article. This is hilarious. I've been sitting on a stone bench on campus, speaking with a tall, brawny man named Danny Shaw, who holds a master's degree in international affairs from Columbia and now teaches seminars on Israel in the liberated zone. When he described the encampment, it sounds like Shangri-La. He said, quote, it's 100% love for human beings and very beautiful. I came here for my mental health. He claims he has no hatred for Israel, although he suggested that the quote genocidal Goliath will of course have to disappear or merge into an Arab majority state. He said that he does not endorse violence, even as he likened the October 7th attacks to the Warsaw Ghetto uprising during World War II.
Where did he get that from? That's straight out of Finkelstein's mouth right there.
Well, that's probably exactly where he got it from.
Yeah.
Shaw's worldview is consistent with that of others in the rotating cast of speakers at late night seminars in the liberated zone. The prevailing tone tends towards late stage France Fanon, much talk of revolution and purging oneself of the bourgeoisie affection, which we heard directly a student say that exact thing.
Yep.
Shaw had taught for this guy, okay, the guy who compared October 7th to a Warsaw Ghetto uprising, had taught at John Jay College for 18 years on the subject of criminal justice. He said the
Right.
John Jay administration pushed him out and doxed him in October for speaking out against Israel and for Palestine. He was labeled an anti-Semite and remains deeply pained by that. He advised me to look up what he said and judge for himself, so I did right on the spot.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's like a call to Sitch right there.
Yes,
What?
this journalist is great. Shortly after, so let me just say the journalist's name here, because this is awesome, is Michael Powell. Okay.
Michael Powell. Yeah.
Base
We'll
Michael
have to
Powell.
watch out for him.
He said shortly after October 7th, this former teacher, posted on Twitter, quote, Zionists are straight Babylon swine. Zionism is a mental illness. It's a genocidal disease.
Right.
And this is after he compared the October 7th attack to the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. And he wonders why he was labeled anti-Semitic and pushed out of his teaching career.
Yeah. He'll probably be a Soros DA pretty soon.
Yeah. A bit harsh, maybe, I asked him, but he shook his head and said, the rhetoric they use against us makes us look harsh and negative. That's not the flavor of what we are doing. Really?
Yeah.
Zionists are straight Babylonian swine. Zionism is a mental illness. It's a genocidal disease. That doesn't seem harsh and negative. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
When this guy says death to the Jews, I mean he means it in a loving sort of hippie way. It's completely different, Sitch.
The journalist continues, we parted shortly after. I walked under a near full moon toward a forward gate, protesters' chants of revolution echoing across what was otherwise an almost deserted campus. I could not shake the sense that too many of this elite university, even as they hope to ease the plight of imperial civilians, has allowed the intoxicating language of liberation to blind them to an ugliness encoded within that struggle.
Very
Well,
true.
there you go. Based Michael Powell. Thank you so much.
What was it? What was Hitler's book called? My Struggle.
Terrible. Terrible.
Just, it's so obvious. They do. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same ugly thing. It really
Yep.
is. Sick.
Okay. So Constantine Kissen of trigonometry, he tweeted this out. It's kind of an interesting tweet. He said, "The left wing retardosphere." Do you like that?
I do.
The
I do.
retardosphere. Yeah.
Look, I might I might be in the retardosphere. Not sure.
No. That's like instead of calling them the woke sphere, it's the retardosphere.
That it is better than woke sphere. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Says he says the left wing retardosphere was created by sensible people on the left being silent when they should have said something.
That's true. Look, we are not guilty of that. Thank goodness.
Obviously, yeah.
I'm not in the retardosphere.
Yeah, but that is 100% true. He continues saying the right wing retardosphere is being formed in exactly the same way. Stop sending me DMs about how much you agree with me about the woke right. Strap on a pair and say something. Unless you want to be on the side that thinks evolution is, quote, just a theory, i.e., doesn't understand what a theory is in science, sees America as the bad guy in every war, and wants to stop women from voting.
Oh
I am,
God. I know who
yep,
he's talking about. Say,
you know who he's talking about, yeah. I am not right wing, but the last thing I want is for the left and right to go full retard at the same time. Truth is king.
wow.
There you go.
I like it. I do like it. I like Constantine. He's a smart guy. A lot of his
Yes.
interviews are really good.
Yeah, super based tweet. This he's referencing, if you guys didn't see, Tucker Carlson was on Joe Rogan and made some fucking wacky claims. Not just that he didn't believe in evolution, which, you know, if you want to, if that's your opinion, I guess, you know, fine. But he was making like since Tucker Carlson has to lie about everything, he was making the claims that not only does he not believe in evolution, but that evolution has been disproven, and that most scientists also don't believe in evolution.
What? Really? Who? How can you take Tucker Carlson serious? How can anyone take him
I don't
serious?
know. Or I think he tried to narrow it down to like some aspect of evolution, which was also not true. I don't remember the exact quote he said, but it was like it wasn't true. It's just completely not true.
I look. I was hoping the pendulum swing might go to another entertaining area to argue about, not straight back to arguing about evolution. Sitch, please kill me already. Like, really? Really? We're going to have the argument that we had 20 years ago?
Listen, Adam.
We're going
Being on
back
the
to
right
that old
just means
chestnut.
being on the right just means you're libertarian. It has nothing to do with anything else, right?
I just, yeah, I mean, what is your take on that? I mean, it just, the board, it screams boring.
Well, I mean, it is boring. It's stupid, and you know, Tucker is definitely trying to position himself as being like one of the faces, I think, of like a combination of like right wing populism and like the sort of Christian nationalism movement that's kind of propping up or creeping up here. And so, of course, you know, if he wants to be sort of the face of Christian nationalism, he has to deny evolution and say, you know, God did everything. Even though, like, it's so stupid. Only the most, like, the whole denial of evolution thing has become a weird virtue signal that doesn't even, like, have to be. The majority of religious people in America believe in evolution.
Yeah, it's true. The
There's
Pope,
not,
the
there's
cat, the cat,
nothing
the
like there's
Catholic
nothing in the
King.
Bible that really precludes you from accepting evolution and accepting your religion, unless you
Yeah.
take like the most 1000% literal interpretation of the Bible, which then would mean that you basically have to deny like essentially all of science at this point, which is
Right.
stupid. Just be like, okay, you can accept that the Bible, you can accept that the Bible is like pretty literal. There's the whole, well, it says God created the earth in 7 days. What is a day time to God? Doesn't necessarily mean it's a human day. You could still interpret the creation of animals through the process of, you could still believe that God created the process of evolution, and guided it in some fashion. You could still believe all that stuff. And yet, some people just because like, it seems to me, that's what I'm saying. It seems to me to be a total virtue signal. It seems to me to be a total like the issue is embedded in something else. You can totally believe in the Bible and still believe in evolution. It's just like become a signal against, I guess, the left, like, to some extent, to not believe in evolution, even though, as Constantine brings up and other people bring up, how can the right claim that the left is some kind of massive denial of science when it comes to saying sex isn't real, when it comes to the trans issue, and then turn around and say evolution isn't real?
This is the sad truth, Sitch. The first thing to get thrown under the bus is always science. People are so much more interested in proving their tribe right.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you want to look at this other tweet too?
Yeah, we can do it. But it's also, and well, it is interesting. I'm glad Constantine's coming out against this. I hope more people, even though Constantine's on the right, we need more people on the right to just come out against this sort of retardation that's
I think
creeping
what if
up.
all
So
his is coming out? He's on the right and he's coming out against this stuff too,
yes,
which is
yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah. And it is weird. Like this, you have the America bad populism, you know, creeping up too. So
Is Carl Benjamin coming out against this? Can we count on
I
Carl as
don't think
being
so. I don't
I
think so. No,
know.
no, I think he supports it. But
He's an atheist.
um, yeah,
Don't Carl, no, please. Please. You were friends with Thunderfoot.
that's right. That's right. And then the other tweet that I was curious if you had a take on. This is
Okay.
Matt Walsh. So Matt Walsh is responding to, there's a video of Wendy's using AI in their drive-through, which, I talked about this like a month ago. I went to a Checkers. I hadn't been to a fast food place in like forever. And I went to a Checkers. It's like the first time I've been to fast food in a very, very long time. And I was shocked to find that when I ordered at the speaker, it was an AI voice I was speaking to, it taking
Right.
my order. It wasn't a person.
Right.
And but it actually worked perfectly. And I was like really impressed. And honestly, I'm not against it because sometimes the person behind the speaker, they don't speak English very well, or they have a very thick accent, or the sound quality is just so garbage, it's hard to hear. And I kind of prefer like a very crystal clear, AI voice that articulates and enunciates everything perfectly.
It was a better experience, right?
It was a better experience. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is good. And this,
Don't I always talk about this about how human labor is just going to be a worse experience?
yes,
So, Adam is for drive-throughs. I'm completely correct on that, right?
yeah, you are.
Like,
You
why
are. Yeah,
would you want to go with the human experience
yeah.
when it's so inferior?
Exactly. Now it was still obviously humans inside the checkers that like make the food and hand it to you, but
Right? Yeah. Who get absolutely no human interaction anymore at work.
well,
Oh
they're talking
God,
to each
that's
other. What
gotta
do
be.
you mean?
Oh, I guess you're
And
right.
you still got to, it's talking to me when I like, pay for it and everything.
Look, maybe they're all inside there talking to their AI friend because the AI
There you go.
articulates better.
There
Like,
you go. That's true. That's true. You know what? That's gonna be so weird. You know how like right now everyone's like, oh my God, you go everywhere and see people on their like looking at their phones.
yeah.
But like the future is gonna be like everyone's talking to their AI. They're not talking to each other, they're talking to some like made up person.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be
Scary.
crazy. But then the Wendy's one was even better in the video because like at the Checkers I went to, it was just a speaker. The Wendy's one had a screen, and when you would talk, it would actually show you the text of your words, so you would be confident that it was interpreting what you were saying very correctly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So
That's slick.
yes, yes.
Look, this is the thing. And I whenever I go to a drive-through, I kind of worry about this, right? Are they getting my order correct? Like
Mhm.
everyone's had that they got my order wrong in the drive-through experience and it sucks. It's the
Yeah,
worst, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Look, if they can iron that out, look. This is great. This is a big leap for society, Sitch.
Well, it's not just for like the fast food, but a better thing is that who have you ever had a problem with YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn or WordPress or any like internet company, and you can't, there's no way to like contact a person to help you with your problem?
Yeah, of course.
And it's like the worst thing ever. You have some problem with your website or your account or whatever, and it's like you can't contact anyone. You have to like basically do a Google search to see if someone had the same problem. You have to do all this crap. It's gonna be so much nicer when a little chat window opens up and you can talk to an AI that can instantly, you can just exactly type in what your problem is. It will instantly understand what your problem is and will try to give you some actual fucking help.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Matt Walsh, in response to this video, said, unpopular opinion among conservatives anyway, but there probably needs to be laws against this. AI is going to wipe out 80% of jobs on the planet if we don't do something. So, how do you feel about that?
Well, this is a guy that wants to do construct bridges using rudimentary tools like hammers and nails. He wants to dig ditches with spoons and not shovels. No, or
Mm.
not earth movers because look, we got to keep people employed here, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so I completely disagree. This is bad. And it's weird that a lot of people on the right claim to understand economics and they don't get it. Yeah. Yeah, no. Completely 100% wrong. Same as Tucker Carlson saying, we should make self-driving cars illegal because we need to save the jobs.
Right. It's not going to work too because, like, so say we theoretically did this in America, the rest of the world's not going to ban AI. So
Oh,
we're
of
going to be
course not.
totally fucked. Like we're going to totally get overrun by China and the rest of the world because we're basically tying weights to our feet because we're like, listen, we got to stop this. We have to have people do these jobs, but it will create a problem, which, we're going to have to figure out how to deal with. The whole world's going to have to figure out how to deal with because what he's saying is true. A huge swath of jobs will not exist anymore. And now the historical trend has been jobs end up becoming obsolete and replaced with different jobs. And maybe that will be the case. Maybe this will continue that exact same trend, or maybe it won't. But we'll just have to deal with it. I don't think you can put the technological progressive genies back into bottles because we live in a competitive society instead of living in some authoritarian state that can just stop progress, technological progress, that is. So we're just gonna have to
Well,
deal with it,
well,
figure out
this
a
is
way
a
forward.
problem. This is a problem with a lot of those authoritarian states. They do stop technological progress because it interferes with their power. And that's why there are such backwaters in the United States. Surges ahead because obviously we're not going to listen to the Matt Walshes of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I sent you a link to that Milton Friedman story. You should read it. You're a better reader than me, but this story's
Milton Friedman's shovels versus spoon story. While
yes.
traveling by car during one of his many overseas travels, Professor Milton Friedman spotted scores of road builders moving earth with shovels instead of modern machinery. When he asked why powerful equipment wasn't being used instead of so many laborers, his host told him it was to keep employment high in the construction industry. If they used tractors or modern road building equipment, fewer people would have jobs, was his host's logic. Friedman then responded, then instead of shovels, why don't you give them spoons and create even more jobs?
Yep.
There you go.
That's exactly when I see something like that, that's exactly the story that I think of.
Right.
Like modern technology, I thought the goal was to get people doing whatever they wanted. Like, why can't the machines do all the dumb jobs? We should automate every single job that nobody wants to do. The
Sure,
problem
but
is we're
then,
automating jobs people want to do, like artist and attorney and
right.
doctor and
Well,
shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the question is, is there going to be required some kind of UBI or something to essentially, because there's just maybe won't be enough jobs available for
Well,
people.
look, and this is the argument for UBI. A lot of people, they don't like it because sense, UBI, they can't conceive of a world where UBI would work. But the problem is going to be that human labor is superfluous because a robot can do it better. Like dealing with a human it will be an inferior experience, and people will not want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's going to happen. That is going to happen. That's going to happen in our lifetimes
It
easily.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
What do you do?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We're going to find out. Can't run away from it. We're going to have to deal with it. Here's a funny story. So apparently they're making a movie that they want to depict O.J. Simpson as innocent.
What do the magical Negroes step in and like fix everything for OJ?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And
The,
so
the society steps in.
mhm. And they offered Owen Wilson. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know Owen Wilson.
I do, yeah.
Nice
He's gonna play
guy.
OJ.
Yeah, yeah.
They're going back to blackface.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
There you go. They're gonna go full Tropic Thunder. They're gonna put Owen Wilson in blackface. Have him be O.J. Simpson. No, they were offering Owen Wilson $12 million to play attorney Douglas McCain in this film that portrays OJ as innocent. And Owen Wilson's response is, "quote If you think I'm going to take the lead role in a movie about how OJ didn't do it, you've got to be kidding me."
Yeah, look, thank you. Someone in Hollywood with a brain.
Yeah, he's like, "No, I don't think so." There
That's
you go.
good.
Good on
That's
Owen
great.
Wilson.
Yeah.
Okay. Read
Back
some
to super
supers.
chats.
Yes. John Smith for $5 says, "Hey guys, you think Jews will be the end of DEI, but don't you think that the sentiment of the students will remain and propagate? S class is the best class." Um, I don't know if the Jewish thing will be the end of DEI. I think it will be, and I think it will definitely be the issue that's waking up the moderate liberals to this sort of toxic communist garbage that has infected so many of the young in the movement, and there will have to be some kind of response to it. There, the question we talked about this before, and I don't, I wish I had an answer, but I don't have a good answer in terms of. I'm afraid that I think a good percentage of the woke kids now will not grow out of it, will retain their horrible, horrible beliefs, and will try to subvert society continually. I wouldn't be surprised if essentially what we see in the next 10, 20 years is that a lot of the woke stuff in corporations all dies away, but a lot of these stupid kids just do the thing that they basically been doing for the last 10, 15, 20 years, where they just go back into academia like cicadas. They burrow back into the academic soil and just try to propagate this, nonsense to come for the next generation. I think that's probably what's going to happen,
Could be.
unfortunately. But the second time this comes around, I do think society and Americans will be better suited for it because even though we kind of had this going a little bit with the political correct stuff, I think this woke shit really caught people unawares for the most part. And if this goes away and comes back a second time, like 10, 15, 20 years later, people will recognize it for what it is, immediately call it out. So we would be kind of like better inoculated to fight against it, this
It's a
virus.
bait and switch. That's why it fools so many people because
Yeah,
it's just they see it as civil rights, doing right by marginalized communities. Yeah.
right.
And then
But the
they're like,
thing,
"What? This is communism."
but it's interesting because like, growing up, there was always this strong sense that the left was like the side of free speech, the right was the side of moral policing. Um, the fears of communism were always bullshit, blah 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 blah, all this stuff. Um, and I think that myth has been forever shattered, and I don't think will ever come back in America. I think it's forever gone. So
I don't know. They're bringing back the anti-evolution stuff.
yeah, but even I'm not saying people aren't going to turn this right, but they'll forever people won't forget this. won't be forgotten. People always remember the time period, the 10-year, 15-year time period of like the woke left and what this meant for the country.
The fourth turning.
There you go. Peter JJ for £1. Thank you so much. Skinnerian, thank you so much for being 25 months. Look at
Look
that,
at
25
that.
months.
Wow.
There it is. Says, hey, Sitch and Adam, I rarely catch a live stream, but finally got a chance to do a member chat. Love the show. And S-Class is the best class.
Well,
Well,
obviously,
thank you so much.
Sitch thanks you for that. So
I'm glad you were able to catch one live.
yeah. Thanks for being a member for so long, too. That's amazing.
Yes. Moondoggy for $5 says, not going to lie, they sound and act like a bunch of Eric Cartmans. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Ostracy for $10 says, I absolutely hate that left wingers are trying to make woke right a thing. My theory for a while now has been that the moderate left wing people are going to push woke onto the right.
That's a good
Well,
strategy. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do.
I don't, well, I don't know if it's a good strategy. I don't think it's possible for people on the left to be like, no, woke is really a right thing. Like when Constantine's saying it, other people are saying it, it's very clearly they're just trying to use the right's negative association with woke to attack extremists or stupid people on the right, essentially,
Yep.
and just try to smear them through that kind of way by tying in wokeness. Now, I want to read. He has a long article he wrote about this that you'd have to pay to access. So I don't know if I'll do that. Maybe I will because I'm curious as to like his whole full explanation of what he means by the term woke right. But I don't know if it's going to be that. I don't think it's going to be that effective. I think retardosphere is better messaging. So, Stug for $5 says, I don't believe in evolution. Charizard was made by God Almighty, and I don't accept blaspheming such as Charmeleon evolves at level 36. There you go.
Good for you.
True.
Take a stand.
Chad D for 2 months says, a priest and a rabbi saw a little boy playing outside. The priest whispered, let's screw him. The rabbi grinned and said, yes, what shall we screw him out of?
That's horrible.
It's a terrible joke, but very funny. The IJP Mexican for 19 months, thank you so much, says, I love Jesus and believe in evolution. Why are people so small-brained? S-Class is best class. And Adam is cool, too.
I totally agree. Yeah, that's my perspective.
Yeah. Brian for $10 says, Tucker is not right-wing. He is a grifter sticking his finger in the wind and adjusting his positions to make money off of the fervently crazy that happened to be against the left-wing wokeism.
That's kind of what I have heard.
I mean, it's definitely possible. It's definitely entirely possible. There was a clip on Twitter. Let's see if I can find it. Maybe I'll watch it. Maybe we'll talk about it later. That was a clip from Tucker, like way back in the day, like 10, 20 years ago. And it was basically him shitting all over right-wing populism that he now is like hyper in bed with and calling them all stupid. And it's kind of hilarious because it's like, oh, he's just that. He's literally the thing he was shitting all over 20 years ago. So
I thought you were going to say they found some clip of him talking about starting his grift business.
No. But I mean, there's that weird email that everyone just seems to let slide where he, was shitting all over Donald Trump, saying Donald Trump is evil, demonic, and stupid. And everyone just says that's fine. So,
right. Okay.
Solid for $5 says, to be fair, they would say Zionism is an ideology, not a national origin. Well, they could say that, but I mean, that they're wrong because they're literally saying that if you're Israeli or in favor of allowing Israel to exist, then you're a Zionist, and that's literally being against someone on the basis of their national origin. I don't think there's that many Israelis out there saying that their country shouldn't exist. I'm sure, you can find a handful of them, but
the maybe colonialism is an ideology, but I mean Zionism is specific to one nation.
Right. Yeah. Sketch for $5 says Teddy Roosevelt was the perfect conservative right winger. Long live the bull moose. There you go. Chaotic Intention for $5 says, quote, we are not anti-Jews, we're anti-Zionists. Also, any Jew who doesn't support my cause must be a Zionist. Shaking my head. There you go. Rex Vectum for 8 months says, if AI takes everyone's jobs, there will be Tent. Will the AI take the protesters' jobs? Well, we have a bunch of AIs in the courtyards, 20 years from now, protesting against Israel. The protesters are too lazy to go out there. They have AI going out there, little tents. We'll see.
Maybe.
John Smith for 14 months says, "Hey Adam, if menial jobs are gone and people can do whatever, won't it increase the extremists who want instability because they are too privileged?" That could be
Not
true.
sure.
I don't know. Well, I guess we're gonna find out. Nomad for $20 says, "Thank you." Says for a time, quote, "For a time and the world do not stand still. Change is the law of life, and those who only look into the past or the present are certain to miss the future." JFK from Call of Duty 2. S class is best class, and A team reigns supreme. There you go.
Coolio. Is that
Let me
it?
check. Let me just refresh the stream labs real quickly here. That's it.
And I think we're actually streaming tomorrow. So,
Yep.
all right. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
See, take care.